being live stream. Oh, it's not a recording. I like this.
Yeah, man.
Man, I like this.
Got it
This is
going
awesome.
live.
Now, this is what I call true authenticity right here. This is what I like. This is what I like right here, man. I
You
respect
like
this.
this?
Get to see my live reactions.
You did? Yeah, yeah.
Like,
That's funny. That's funny. But let's get this going, brother Brendan.
yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. With me this evening, I have with me it's a good young brother. His name is Brendan Brown. Brendan, you are a content creator, an author, and a speaker. Is that correct?
Sir, yes, sir, it is.
All right, all right. Brendan, welcome to the show, sir. I really
Thank
appreciate
you,
you
sir.
coming on. I wanted to bring you on because our prior conversation that we had, you mentioned, about being a content creator. And by the way, Brendan is 20 years old and he started his content creator journey 6 years ago. So let me just bring that to the surface for some narrative. But Brendan, we talked about uh, your delve into content creation. We talked about your parents, and we talked about your books, and we had a good conversation, brother. Long but good conversation. But I wanted to speak with you about a little bit about everything that I mentioned. But I wanted to start by asking you what got you into content creation at
Well,
such a young age.
what got me into content creation at a young age was just the fact that it came out of nowhere. It really started out of nowhere. I said I wanted to do YouTube around late 2019. I was like, man, this doesn't seem like it's kind of real. I don't need to really be doing this because I was like on the fence because at the time it was still kind of like, do people do this? Is this like a joke or anything? That was before YouTube became a serious thing like how it is now in this decade.
Mm,
And then, around late 2019, I met this guy, former friend by the name of Jeremiah Patterson, and he told me about what podcasting was. And I was like, well, what is podcast? And he said, well, it's basically YouTube in audio format. And I was like, well, that sounds good. And so I was going to start, but I was kind of hesitant. I told my grandmother the idea. She was just like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And, we both were not informed, of course, that podcasting it was a, it was a network. It was a social network of avenues to get from place to place. It wasn't necessarily an entity or a business because we thought it was a business or entity that Jeremiah Fellow was doing. But anyways, as that went by, I just was hesitant about it because at the time, like I said, I was just mostly unconfident. I was more leaning to just listening what others say because around 2019, that was really the last year I really was a person who was more about just following the rules. And so I just realized throughout that season that when COVID hit, it was time for me to start. Because February before COVID hit, I was making an Instagram account. I never had social media ever in my life. That was the first ever social media I made, besides Google Plus, if that counts, when I was younger in 2018. But I made that account, and then March came, pandemic, and that was a closer sign that God was nudging me to do it since
mm,
late 2019. And so I asked my mom that day. I said, "Well, can I do podcasting? Do you think that's right?" Well, no, you don't got to do it. Don't do that. You ain't got to do that. But instead, I just didn't worry. That day when I was just, practicing my swing shot with a baseball, practicing my art of shooting a basketball. 'Cause at the time, my father was telling me or forcing me in a way to do sports, and I was in my way kind of like wanting to do it because at that time I eventually built up to wanting to do it. And I thought about it. I said, you know what? I don't need to do sports. Sports is in the way. I thought about it. I said, let me do what my former, well, at the time, my friend Jeremiah suggested to me. So I got on the app. I used the Anchor app. I pressed record, and I started my
which
first
app is
episode.
this? Anchor?
Anchor app, yes, sir. This
Okay.
is before they made a Spotify podcasters, and I
Right, right.
type it right in. Made my first episode because I'm a big DC fan, Marvel fan, pop culture fan. I talked about the Batman Arkham games. What was the next Batman Arkham game at that time? How was it going to be? Then I started talking about George Floyd. Then I started talking about inspirational content. Then I started having motivational audio clips from videos be right on there. And just, at the beginning before the episode starts to encourage the people. And so
Mhm.
that's all I just been trying to do. And then eventually around 2021, that's when I started doing the self improvement content because I saw this young man named Nige Simmons promote his podcast called the No Job Podcast. And so when I listened to that, it really intrigued me because I was like, you know what? That's true. You don't have to follow your purpose. You don't have to follow what people say. You should follow your purpose. You should follow your career. You should follow that path that you want to do. And doing that is much better than trying to do what people say, what society says. And so I said, let me just listen in. It was making sense. And excuse me for the loud noise if you hear it in the background.
Oh,
Sorry for that
oh,
audio because there's some loud noise in the background, but it's just kind of loud, but sorry for that.
no.
But trying to continue to keep my thoughts focused as I'm speaking there. But it inspired me. And then eventually I started watching Gary Vee. He talked about how you can do content creation. Now, Gen Z, we have options. You don't have to go to a job and do all this. You can make content on YouTube and grow and evolve if you know what you're doing. And Jordan Green, another great YouTuber I watched, he talked about how college is not for everyone. He didn't say college was not the thing. He just said it wasn't for everyone who may be creative. And so that inspired me too. And it all left footprints, imprints in my life to think about how I need to do my content. So I said, let me do inspirational content. Let me be unique. Because at that time I was just trying to go to Howard University. And I thought about that. I said, maybe when I graduate high school, because at the time I was a freshman, I said, I probably don't need to go. Or if I do, just take a 2 year college. And so I just started making content, content, content. And then from there, like I said, I started the video podcast, the everything else and social media accounts and everything. And that's what led to my books and etc. That's a whole long story. But like I said, this is all just those are just stepping stone moments that led to where I'm at now.
Got you.
So
Got you. What did your parents think about you? I know you mentioned a little blip about it, but how did your parents, feel about you uh digging into this content creation like real hard? How did they feel about that?
well, how they felt about that, they were just like, it's not gonna be full time. They were just saying that it doesn't make any sense. They were just saying that that's a good hobby, but that's it. And eventually, when my father started seeing when I was making a little bit of money out of it, he just looked at it more of like a money maker, a money making jewel than actual podcast that's a passion or hobby. And at the end of the day, it's good to look at it as a money making jewel because it can be a nice little diamond. But at the end of the day, sometimes looking at things in that avenue won't get you nowhere. And how I looked at it is that they were looking at it from a traditional or either a one minded way. And that's not how life is when you're trying to follow your purpose. That's not how life is in general because things are always going to have complexities. Even if you go a path, there's either two paths you're always going. It's either that one path or it's either that alternative path. And that's where you figure out, where do I need to go? Where should I go? What's going to work out for me? And you just do that, even if it does make mistakes, even if it doesn't go the right route. And so for them, it was just like for me, it discouraged me sometimes, it hurts me sometimes, but
Sure.
I move forward. And eventually they did understand my perspective. But even now to this day, they still bait and switch on it. And so what I realize is that at the end of the day, I don't worry. I don't care. If they be shocked that I don't want to be bothered, there's a reason why. But that doesn't hold me against a grudge. That doesn't disrespect me to them because I'll never disrespect them. I would still show respect, show love, compassion, just like I show anyone else. But if you don't have the mindset that I have, or if you don't have enough respect for yourself to respect yourself, because sometimes our conversations aren't even in the podcast and they can be normal everyday conversations and they don't, you can tell they're not confident at times, then I need to just distance myself from you because I can't let you block my blessing because most blessings are blocked, not because you're around negative people, but because negative people gives you the illusion that you lost. And
Ooh,
so you think you lost,
ooh,
but you're actually winning. And once you
mm,
leave those people alone, you will win even more.
mm.
Because for me, right now, my situation, I left this grocery store job. And when I left this grocery store job, because my dad forced me to go there, and I saw his true colors, when I left the grocery store job, and he was upset and disappointed, I didn't worry. And then I left my exposure with him. And now I see blessings come my way because I had to limit certain people. And I know this might be kind of hard for some people. Probably saying, well, young man, why are you like this? Or how it's life. People are going to have their disagreements, but there are some people who are just going to stay stuck on what they do. And you can't change them. Even if God can change them, they have to want to change in their heart. Because I'm a man of faith and I believe in Christ Jesus, my Lord and Savior. That's why I reference God. If you're, if any audience is looking at why I'm saying that. Mm-hmm. But hopefully I answered your question. I didn't go on a little rant there.
You good. You good. I know you made a mention that your pops wasn't too happy with you leaving the job because you felt that he got you that job. Well, there's nothing wrong with working a job.
Yeah.
But it was, from what I gather, it was steering away from your purpose.
I'll say like this: it wasn't steer away from my purpose. It was more of like it was not close to where I was at. It was far away. It was inconvenient for him or me because he's already working two jobs, and so for my grandma, it took her out her time to pick me up and take me there, and that wasn't good because that's not her responsibility to do that. And so it was all the way in that countryside. Even if I were to be home with my dad in the countryside, I still want to be able to get to work. If he has to go to his job because he has to cover and pay the new house or pay new stuff, don't want to get in the business or tell all the info out here on the public. But that's what it was. It was more of like that inconvenience for everyone. And it was more of like he was prideful because he wanted me to work somewhere where it wasn't even aligned right. But God allowed me to go there anyway because he wanted me to be tested. Because even even before I started working, I saw that the management was wicked, and he didn't want to see it. He didn't want to listen to what I said. Got mad at me. Got mad at my mother. Talk all type of stuff. Say all type of derogatory words. For all of it, just to eat them back up as the weeks went on and the job revealed itself. And then I put my 2 weeks notice in, and then I left. And then the people there, when I was working there, they didn't train me. They trained a new kid who was coming in right after me, and they put nepotism in him because me and him came around the same time. He just came like a week later.
So he knows somebody. He knows somebody there.
Who?
He knew somebody there that worked with
you. Yes, sir, he did. Because one of the ladies who was there, they referenced how
he had to pause for a second. So let's just give him a few ticks to gather himself and get back together.
excuse me for what happened just now. They were just calling me because they're about to go. They're about to go and go leave. Some people I'm not gonna reference.
Oh no,
but anyways,
that's fine.
yeah. So he had knew somebody because there was a lady there while I was there, and she brought somebody who she knew, and he was basically a college student, and she was saying that, oh, we got somebody new. He's gonna be great. He's gonna do this. Just thinking he's gonna take over the Delhi area. But the dude was just so uninspired. He looked uninspired. He looked tired. He looked like he didn't have enthusiasm. And when I did my part, it was always, don't do this, don't do that. They limit me when I want to do more work. When I was trying to learn, they didn't train me. Then they want to get mad when I don't know nothing. The first day, I didn't know nothing. They're upset with me. The manager, you did a good job. Then bait and switch and said you did a terrible job. When it's your first day, especially in that industry of Delhi, and I never really worked in a deli before. So it was like when I came in there, everyone was against me. And I looked at it as, why the heck is everything going on? But then from my past experiences of having friends, relatives, ladies, girls interested in I was into who all was against me before, I saw it now. People can be against you, and you gotta let that be your strength. That weakness I was in, that hellhole I was in, from a biblical, not a cussing standpoint, a biblical standpoint, metaphorically, it was my strength because I felt like Joseph. Joseph was, they lied on him. Potiphar's wife, I think, lied on him. That's how it was for me. They lied on me. They treated me like a dog. But at the end, I still got the glory. I still slayed the giant because I had the respect to all of them. My father, every day, getting mad at me, getting upset, just trying to, not mad, but more like not understanding my perspective when I kept telling them that these people are not training me. My mother understanding, but then still feeling a little bit double minded because she wanted to please my father. I had to realize I'm all alone.
Mm.
So I only had God. One day, I got so mad and fed up because they were really raging me back to getting mad like how I used to. Because I made a vow in 2023 never to get mad at myself no more. You're still gonna get upset, but I used to have
Sure,
anger
sure.
issues due to my, you know, experiences I dealt with. Past traumas with alcoholic father and relatives that were not understanding my perspective. And when I got that therapy and stuff, I was better. But when that moment happened recently this year, I was just so mad hot mad. Talked to my mother on the phone. I said, I'm tired of this. I said, I'll put my 2 weeks notice in. And that moment I knew the expiration was done because God already put me in the season to be tested. But now he knew I was just overrunning it. It was expired. So I put that 2 weeks notice in and it was time. And by the grace of God, the other job came in and I was good.
Good,
So
good.
hopefully I wasn't on a little rant there, but that's just a little
No,
clarification for any of you or the audience if they need to
I
understand anything
understand.
from my story.
Understand. Yeah, yeah. It gives credence to my next question too.
Okay.
I want you to talk about your podcast, The Development Pod. Uh, talk about the Development Pod.
Okay. Well, how the development pod started was it started as a podcast that was just originally just Brennan Brown's collection of facts and theories. It was just I liked the name, but it was a little too long. I had some people say it was too long. I thought about it. I said I always thought the idea of development pod because I was interviewed on this guy named Alan Levi Simmons who was hosting the Purpose Pod, and I said, well, he has purpose. I said, what about development? That sounds like a good word for me, more original for me, more unique for me. I
Yeah.
said I don't want to copy what he was doing, but then I realized by the grace of God, I believe it was time to change up. So in 2023, I rebranded. I went big. I said, after 2022 being a great year for me, getting the views and all statistically and stuff at that time, I said, let me just change the podcast to Development Pod. And it was more better. People recognized it, people remembered it. Some people call me the Development Pod because I guess my face was a Development Pod. And so, I loved it. It was respectable. And then that's where we're at now. I said Development Pod because, when you're a pod, right? It's a seed being planted. And so when a seed is being planted, that
Mm,
pod breaks and it grows. And
mm.
that's why I made a development pod. That's why the logo, if you notice, it has like a little button, not button, excuse me, an arrow where it goes up. Some people say it looks like the Apple share button. That's not what I was trying to do. That wasn't my intention. But
Okay.
it's kind of ironic how it looks like that, but that's not my intention. It was actually just a logo to go up to show that you will be developed, you will grow up, you will succeed. And when you listen to my podcast, it will help you grow and develop into who you are, you
Mm.
know?
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah, that's what it is.
Now, what is your target audience?
My target audience is people around the ages of 13 to 25 because I want to inspire the youth and young adults because in this day and age, a lot of young adults need that guidance, need that awareness of just things and to be inspired.
Mm,
I know that right now in this day and age of 2026 with so much social media and different things, there are so many avenues for kids to be inspired and stuff, but it's always good to still do it because sometimes people can overlook it and then forget. And then when the trend comes back, people need it. And I believe with advice, That's
Mm.
something that's never a trend, but it's something that's always growing. And when there's always a unique voice coming in, such as like me, for example, it broadens the perspective, it broadens the awareness, I'll say. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So, what type of advice do you give to these people? You know what I'm saying? And I'm asking this because you're right. Our youth does need some direction. Our youth does need some inspiration. And sadly, some of our youth aren't getting it from home. What do you say to them during, in your shows that you think are helpful to them?
My experiences, and I'm not saying this to be, which I know no one's thinking this, but it's just my brain thinking this. I'm not saying this to be prideful or to just think of my life or think that I'm, this big, better than person. No, no, I'm just as humble as anyone else. But my experiences,
Yeah.
the advice I live, I try to give it to other people. And I've noticed how it kind of inspired the other kids because at the time when I first did my podcast, around the first few years, I was going through a lot, and I'm gonna reference this again. This isn't just like, a little trauma dumping or venting, how people say. I'm just saying this to say this. It's just that I was dealing with people that were against me, dealing with an emerging alcoholic father, dealing with relatives, that weren't understanding my perspective when I was telling about me doing podcasting, or, it was more transactional relationships. And so when I was dealing with all that, that kind of pumped me and inspired me to just keep on encouraging people and using my real life stories to encourage those audiences. And even when I went to school in person 2 years after launching the podcast, I saw some kids say they really love my story and they really respect it and they understand me. And some feel sorry for me. And
Mm.
at the time, I was grateful for it. But now I look back at it, I just come humbly like, it's good to be sorry for me, but it was all for the glory of God.
Absolutely.
And for now, this current era of where I'm at in podcasting, because I'm mostly am semi-retired with that. I'm mostly doing it all on YouTube now because I want them to be more personal and more on the video so they can see who I am. It's more of me like how I was back when I originally started, just documenting my process, giving advice to people as I'm documenting my life, and sometimes talking about different stories and different things, mostly just storytelling, or mostly advice through storytelling or through my life that's more better than just giving straight up facts or things. Because as I evolved, I noticed how I was just going off of more facts than feelings or stories. And I said, I need to get back to how I originally was because that was what was helping me grow more. And that's what's helping now, especially in this AI world we're living in, which AI isn't an issue, but some people really do want that human authenticity. So
Mm. Hmm. Hmm. I get what you're saying. Uh, you've talked about your faith a few times in our short span of time. So I want to ask you, how have you become so strong in your faith, Brother Brendan?
how I became strong in my faith, um, just the experiences once again, just dealing with, and hopefully I'm not on a rant here, but I'm gonna really just let it all out so it can help people understand my journey. Just starting off, just dealing with an alcoholic father, because my life was peaceful before that. Dealing with an alcoholic father who was, you know, punching me, yelling, saying verbal stuff, be having suicidal thoughts and almost attempting that by the grace of God, not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being able to endure all that
Mm-hmm.
and then him taking a break. His delivery was wrong, but he was trying to do better. Then he redid it again. And around the time when he redid it again, it was a pandemic. And then I was dealing with a aunt telling me to work a job when I was an innocent 14-year-old boy in a pandemic locked home with viruses going around,
Mm.
telling me to get that when she was the one depending on another relative for income, another relative for her life, dealing with that relative, which I'll reference the great grandparents, my maternal grandparents, who had a transactional relationship. It was, if you do this, you get paid. If you do this, God bless you. If you do this, then that. If you do this for people, God bless you. And it's good to treat people nice. It's good to do things. And I'm not saying that never none of the things he trained me was bad, because some things he trained me was very great. It was just that it was too transactional. And my
Mm.
relationship with God got built to realize that money, prosperity, transactional, being even family does not mean nothing.
Mm.
A godly family is in your heart because you're adopted to God by your heart.
Mm.
And with my family, with my friends, with my peers, and even adults outside relatives, I'm saying, that were like that, like teachers or anything like that, whoever it was, I had to just realize as I grew, don't let that get to you. Don't let that get next to you. Let that encourage you. Let that be a learning lesson. And it was sometimes I still forgot that because your human side will still come in. But I had to remember it's just an experience. And when 2023 hit and my father said he would stop drinking for good, that's when I let go of my anger issues from everything, just holding all of it from him, from my grandparents, from my aunt, from just, well, I let that go, of course, just verbal bullying back in elementary school, middle school, different things. I realized all the culminations of my life, I had to be at peace. And I noticed how it was working because I was more sense of humor. I was more of a funny guy because I never was really a person that does jokes and things. I'm never a person who really cries neither. I rarely cry. So when that happened, I thank God because I was more sense of humor. And if any moments would happen, if I need to cry, it'll be okay if I need to. And because it's nothing bad about a man crying, because Jesus even wept. Jesus even cried.
Absolutely.
And so, I forgave my father. I forgave my grandparents. Before my grandfather tragically died in 2024, I thank God I forgave him. I thank God we were able to still have a good relationship because even before that, we always had a good relationship. But I just feel like he had it transactional. After 2023, it was kind of more about a real bond. And even with that, I feel like our reconciliation was better than me and my father because at least he was willing to grow and I was willing to listen as he guided me, because he was really a great father figure in my life. It still hurts me that he's gone till this day. But despite all that, my father, after my grandfather's death, being chaotic, being crazy because his back was hurting. I understand when you get injury and you home all day, it can be a lot. But me being a burden, him just not being the man he had to be at times, financially, just spending money foolishly, even prior to that, for me just having to, when times when I was in my teens, in the early 20s, when my grandparents gave me allowance, sometime when they didn't know, I would use that allowance money to help my mom with bills. It's just something just to see how all this is, and not saying my father never did nothing because he did some great stuff too, but just seeing him not being the man and seeing him do what he did to me and seeing what he was an example of, to my in front of my mother to me, and just seeing all that, it just built me that resilience and faith in God with all that. And then just dealing with all the friends I met throughout the years, the negative ones and the positive ones. It just showed me how people can be and how I have to understand people and learn people. And it's interesting how I learned all this through the internet and in person, right all before I even had my first ever job in 2025. And with that, they laid me off. Once they laid me off, it was a sales job anyway. It took me another few months. I got the new job this year. Left that. Went to a deli job I recently discussed on this live stream. Left that. And then now I'm at a tech job. And it took a while, but God finally did that too because I had to go to Texas for that with people and different things. And my whole journey, like I said once again, just to culminate everything, not to keep it too long-winded, is just that it was all experiences, it was all trials and errors. That's to really have my faith be strong. Is that despite anything, for a young man in his 20s, I've been through so much experiences that it can relate to a 40-year-old, it can relate to a 30-year-old, and I'll never be like them mentally. Well, not mentally there yet, experience wise, but mentally maybe. It's all God.
Yeah.
It's all it's all Him blessing me with the gifts, the discernment to know who's right, who's wrong, and
Yeah.
different things. In the
Yeah.
Bible, just in case anyone's looking at this, the Bible even says your family can be, and your enemies can even be in your own household. So it can even be your family members as well. And I'm not saying that they were enemies. I'm just saying maybe at the time God may had them to be antagonistic to build my character. So now when things change, they may act different. And that doesn't stop me from being evil, because the Bible says do good with good. Don't do evil with evil. Do good with evil. Don't do evil to evil.
Okay.
So
Got you. Got
that's
you.
it.
Let's talk about your books. You authored 2 books. One of them is a children's book. So chop it up about your books.
Well, my children's books. Well, my children's books, man, the best yet to come right here.
The best
This
yet
all
to
got
come.
started because of the fact that, once again, I'm being a little philosophical here. I was doing a business idea with a friend, and when we did that, I realized by the time everything ended, my discernment kicked in that he was doing witchcraft. He wasn't being the right friend in my life, and so I had to cut him off. And I thank God, because me and my other friend who was having nightmares, both were experiencing nightmares because we were being bombarded with him with the nightmares. I'm assuming it was him causing all of it. And as soon as we cut him off, it got better. And throughout all that, God revealed to me something new, which was through AI. And it's ironic because the young boy told me, don't use AI, this and that, this and that. He was all against it. And this is an example to show that I thank God that I was able to remove the negative people, because it allowed me to open up and see where the blessings can come. Because as I was experimenting with the I was just doing, like, thinking of the idea of doing like a man and a lion. Then I said, let it be a boy and a lion, maybe. And I said, you know what? That's where it should be. I should make a story called The Best Is Yet to Come.
Mm.
The best is yet to come, because it was inspired by my pastor just preaching a sermon around that time, November. It was around the time of my birthday time. And he was just saying the best is yet to come. Just talking about Jesus, how, his first his first miracle was at a wedding. And if you think about it, when he returns, it's gonna be a wedding, spiritually. And so I thought about it. I said, which the theme is not the same here. It's different whole story. But I thought about it. I said, biblical. How can I have a children's book have some biblical, but also some natural things to help inspire the kids? And so I said, let me make this story real. I said, that's where it should be. At the end of the story, which there's a spoiler alert for it. Don't let the kids hear this part. Let them read the book. But the lion gets the crown of faithfulness. The man who was a boy gets the badge of bravery, because both of them endured. And the lion, he inspired the boy to keep on going. When the boy was nervous, when the boy didn't know what was going on, when the boy had some courage to want to go, but felt a little bit like he needed to push back, the lion was just pushing him, telling him, you go ahead. I'm with you all the way. I'm not going to let you fail. I'm right here with you. And when I finished publishing the book, I was like, what? And then I just realized this lion represents the Lion of Judah. Because just like God in my life, he has helped me when I went through my stuff. And it's ironic that, just through an AI story, this thing got real personal. Because this book, because people, and I'm telling you right now, heck with people saying AI slop. If you have a soul in what you're doing, if you have a great story, a great plot, but you don't have the funding, because I don't have the funding. I didn't have the funding at that time. I still wanted to get a good editor and stuff. Just let it be the images, and you do all the rest of the stuff, because that's all I did. I documented it, I wrote it, I thought about it day after day, prayed about different things, and then this is how it was made. This all was made, and everything I visualized, it just was just coming together, like just juice, just food, just coming together so perfectly.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just a little process of how it was, and that's just the meaning of my book. It's all about bravery, courage, teamwork, and just love.
Yes,
Love, love, as in love your family, because he is a family man. At the end of the book, love your best friends, love your family, love your purpose, love everything.
mm,
And just for anything that's negative, just know that you can jump across it. You can jump across it, because even in the story, he walked over a bridge with water, and you can do the same thing. Because hey,
come on,
you got it. You got it.
brother. What's up with your other book?
My other book, well, my other book, it's a memoir. This came out before my children's book in 2025. This is the book that talks more about my story because of course I was referencing it throughout the episode, but if you guys want to know more about the in-depth of it, this is my book right here called Trials, Tribulations, and Trauma: A Story Built Through Adversity. And this is my motto, built through adversity. That's the tagline there because, I was built through adversity. My signature quote is if you're determined to do it, you'll be disciplined to do it. And I definitely was determined to do it because I was disciplined to do it through just my actions. Not every day I was doing the same thing because you're still gonna have your faults and stuff, but I try my best to even endure those
Mm,
rock, those little walls that were trying to hit me. And some of them were learning lessons, some of them were things I could easily avoid, but it was all for God's glory, like Romans 8:28 said. And it's just all about my story, how I endured with an alcoholic parent, how I dealt with family dynamics, how I dealt with peers on age of me who were bullies, who were against me, some reconciliation, and they understood me and respect me, and just my life and the success I had, the down points, the awards I won, and different things, because I got my award right there, the FBLA award of how I, won digital video production, and I had a low rank, and then I got a high rank the next year, and just
nice.
little different stories that can encourage people, especially young people who may be going through similar things, especially in black households, black father, like it represents all that too. Black masculinity, black fatherhood, black families, black dynamics, different black stuff, because I
Yeah,
know there's a lot of those people who really want that black celebration, and this is a culmination of black excellence here too. So
amen to that. Yeah. You have any future plans as far as, growth, more content creation?
yes, sir, I do. So right now, well, I said this before, but I'm gonna say it to you, to somebody else. I said this before, is
All
that
right.
I'm actually planning on doing a superhero IP. So with the help of AI, because right here, my children's book, people don't know, but some do. This is just a little experiment to see where I'm going to do next. Because if this can be successful, if anyone want to purchase it, just click the link down below to Amazon and just search it. The best yet to come, Brennan M. Brown, leave a 5-star review. Because the more people leave reviews, the more people support that story.
Yeah.
That can lead to the success, though to upcoming reveal and success potentially of my next superhero friend, my next IP coming out, which will be a superhero IP. Because the young man, basically what it is that the story is like my life, but it's romanticized into like more of a superhero dynamic. And it wasn't trying to be that way because I don't ever want to try to make it about me, but I learned humbly here, especially recently from a mentor, that people love stories, especially if it's your own personality. And with AI, especially, if I can put my own story into that and not make it me, but make it maybe like a hybrid between the two, it can really work out. And I don't want to spoil what the plot is, what anything is, but all I know is that if you read my memoir, it'll make sense when you read that book
Gotcha.
why it's what it is. And it's inspired by other medias too, but it's its own original idea that I really sat down and thought about because the project started in October 2025, around the same time as this, and I was just hesitant about like which one should I release first, and I said, let me do children's one because that probably might be more profitable first, and if that works out, then I know I can do the same thing with that superhero IP. So the expected release date is between 2028 2029. So for anyone looking at that, just stay tuned. But if you want to keep update, just follow me at Brown State 100, and I'll continue to keep you updated when that marketing starts. But for right now, I'm just focusing on my IP right here, the best yet to come. And there's also a children's cartoon on YouTube that I made called Matthew and Leo: The Missing Chapters, based in the world of this book, where it's like a prequel series of the man right here and the little lion when they're cubs and stuff, just and a boy just learning life and being encouraged through different adventures.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I dig it, man. I dig what you're doing, and I really I really respect what you got going on, young guy. I'm listening to you, and it's hard for me to digest that you're 20. It's really hard for me to let that sink in. Like I'm talking to a 20-year-old young man, and I feel like I'm talking to a 50-something year old man. You know what I mean? It's you blow my mind, man, to be quite honest, and in a great way, because not often do I sit with young brothers like yourself and engage at this level, even on a spiritual tip. Brendan, you're breaking off scripture verses, and you're giving your respect due to God, and you're paying respect to spiritual people that have planted positive seeds in your soul, bro. And I love it. I love that, bro. You know what I'm saying? That I love it. And I thank you, I thank God that he delivered you and given you a heart of flesh, because your heart could have been hardened a long time ago. You dig what I'm saying? And instead of having that heart of stone, you let God turn that heart of stone to a heart of flesh, and it's pumping nothing but blood up into the rest of your soul, my man. And I have to give you your flowers on that, Doc. So
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And I just want you to say, I just want to add on to that too, just for the audience to know and you to know. There were plenty of times where I almost did become hardened, not as in hardened towards God, but more hardened. Well, no, let me fix that. It was not towards God as in like, oh, I hate God. No, not that type of way. More
mm-hmm.
like, oh God, why is this? Why am
Why?
I in this family? Why am I here?
Yeah,
Because we
yeah,
all had that moment when we've been tested. Why? Why me?
absolutely,
Why? Why? And I think
absolutely,
even David in the cave, I think David in the cave actually yelled, and I think he was saying, "Help me, Lord." Something like that in the cave, I think,
brother.
if I'm not mistaken.
Everybody in the scripture had those why me moments.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And even with,
Job,
yeah,
hey, all of them. But you
yeah.
know what? I'm learning that why not you? Why not me? If I love God, hey, he put you through some tests. Show me what you're talking about.
That's it. But to expand that too now, sometimes too, I was almost hardened towards people too, because sometimes I was just like, and it happened when I was younger, because when you're younger, you're more impulsive. So like, just because I was an old soul didn't mean I was not still a teenager, because sometimes those teenager stuff I heard when you're growing up your mind and stuff. So at times my heart did become hardened, maybe not almost, well, not become it. Let me rephrase it. It almost did, because some days I was just thinking the same way I was thinking towards, just in the house, of course, when the pandemic, towards my relatives, thinking negative towards them, thinking this and that, thinking this and that. And at the end of the day, like I referenced earlier, you can't do evil with evil. You gotta do good with evil. And as I got older, it hurt more because I did good, but it felt better later on because when I did good, they felt convicted. And as I went out into the street, school and now jobs, I'm seeing it. When you do good, it hurts them. And then when you do bad after being good multiple times, that's when it really hurts them.
Come
Because
on.
you being mean the first time, like straight out the gate,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we know you're gonna do that. We know you're gonna try to do that. But when it's like you were nice and we kept bullying you and then you got quiet and then you started raging out of nowhere, it's like, oh my gosh, what happened? Because that's how it should be. Because let's be real, even Jesus, he was calm. But when they were capturing up, I think when Peter or somebody had cut the ear off someone, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
read,
yeah,
read the Bible, if I'm mistaken, I don't want to mess no one up, but I think Jesus got mad too, and he was telling them to shut down or something. He was mad.
yeah.
Or actually no, one example is he threw the tables. He threw the tables because
He-
he was mad at the Pharisees for making it, you were paying the word. You can't pay the word. And sometimes some
yeah,
days sometimes you have to be like that when it comes to the
yeah.
truth. Because if
You
it's
gotta
for the
let
truth,
you gotta let
it's for
cats
right.
know, as they say. You gotta let these people know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even Paul was another one. He
Yeah,
really didn't play no games, and
you
that's
gotta
how you
flip
gotta be.
tables, bro, every now and
Yeah,
again.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, and it's human, and like I say, either like I said, when I was younger, and even to this day, I might have moments where I flip the table, but then sometimes I might have moments where I gotta remember I can't get there, but I was almost there to being hardened or being just like them, and you can't let that. It gotta be a balance.
Indeed,
That's
brother.
all.
Indeed. I got one important question I want to ask you.
Yes, sir.
If you had an inspirational message that could help if you had a message that you could share to help young people like yourself turn their lives around, what would that message be?
I think that message to help young people turn their lives around will be connect with the right people, I'll say, firstly. Because in my life, despite all that, I don't think I would never be mentally sane if I didn't have my friends with me. Even the ones who were good at the time and then became fake, and the ones who are still good from now to now, from then to now. If I didn't have them, I think I would probably either be dead, you know, do something I probably would never would think I would do, or anything, you know. But they helped me out a lot, and I thank God for them planting the seeds and doing things they needed to do, or watered however it was that God needed in my life for them. The second thing after that is if they need their life to be turned around financially, I'll say just make sure you get a job, or if you already have one, if you're eligible to do it, because some people circumstances different, save your money, and once you save enough, leave that environment, rather as a friend, brother, sister, mother, father. If it's your own, well, I can't say their son or daughter because they can't have it at a young age. Somebody who you know that you're living with that's older than you and they're not doing right or respecting your beliefs. And I'm not saying you being disobedient. I'm talking about you as a young person doing right and they're not understanding you. Just go if you already talk with them and get your own place. And then the third thing is, which is really the first thing I should have said, is put God ahead of all of it if you're a believer of Christ, and if you're willing to want to know about Christ, let Him be the head of your life, because those are the three things that I would do, because I got to speak from my experience and what I would help for that individual. Right now, out of the three, I haven't got my own place, but with me working this job, that's my plan eventually, is to get my own place so that I can be able to think creatively, think freely, because the first step was God already did. He already removed me from my father. That gave me more breathing room. But the second step is now to leave my hometown and just to go beyond and reach this whatever ministry goal passion he has for me, you know. And I thank God for it, because I even had a friend this year earlier who told me, he said, God might be having you to be distance from certain family members or people that may be in your life. And when that happens, if you're distant from your family, don't be scared. And I'm already seeing it now. My father, he's in his own place, my mother, and soon eventually is going to be me away from my grandmother, and I'll be in my own place. It doesn't stop me, like I said, from being a evil. That doesn't. I'm not saying I'm gonna be evil person like that. That's not gonna do that. I'll always be good. That will never stop me from being good. But it's just that you have to limit your exposure to people who don't understand your purpose
Yeah.
or your calling, and that's all you have to do. Oh, oh, Lordy. Hmm, let me see something. book.
Oh, can
Oh,
you hear
okay.
me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you good. I can hear
Okay.
you good.
We
Yeah, I was
had
just making sure.
okay.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. But I was able to catch your message though. And I thank you for that. And thank you for sticking around while we figure that out.
Yes, sir.
Last question. How can people contact you, Brendan?
Well, you can contact me at all socials at Brownstay100,
Absolutely.
BROWNSTAY 100. My email is at brown. Oh, my email is brownstay100 at gmail.com. And then for my kids channel, that's the YouTube channel for the kids based on my children's book, is The Best Is Yet to Come YT channel. Or you can put Matthew and Leo, or just put both together on YouTube. And then for the Instagram for that, it is The Best Is Yet to Come 26. And that's all where you can contact me. And those last two I referenced were for the kids stuff. If you want to look at the kids stuff, and if you ever need me for a show, for an engagement, just a collaboration or anything, like I said, all those are there so that you can reach out to
Hold
me.
on. And I apologize, Brendan, for the mishap. I just wanted to make sure that we were all good. Um, you finished your question, and thank you for that question. Um, how can people contact you and give me all the available sites that people can reach you on?
Well, you can reach me out at Brownstay 100, BROWNSTY 100 on all socials at Brownstay 100, BROWNSTAY 100. My email is brownstay100 at gmail.com. And then for my kids' content, if anyone's interested in the kids' content, I have a YouTube channel for it, for this right here, based on that. It's called Matthew Leo and the Missing Chapters. And it's tagged as at the best is yet to come YT channel or Matthew Leo. You can search that up and it'll be on there. And for the Instagram for that is the best is yet to come 26. And those two are just for the kids content, but Brownstone 100 is mostly everything of my main stuff if you want to stay engaged on what I do. And you can DM me on any platform, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can react on comments, however it is, and just support. And I would love if you can subscribe on YouTube as well, since I'm more on YouTube now than on the podcast side of things, since I'm semi-retired with podcasting.
Okay, brother. Mr. Brendan Brown, the old soul.
Yes, sir.
You are an old soul, man. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, but I'm telling you, you are an old soul, and I really enjoyed this conversation. Yeah, I mean, we could have talked for a longer period of time, but I don't have any more questions to ask. So,
Well, I'm a talker, so I love to talk. I'll keep the audience engaged. I hope you guys laughing if y'all looking at this being
yeah,
recorded.
yeah. And my apologies again for the little glitch there, but we were able to finish strong, sir. So, uh,
That's good.
appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
And I would like to
Thank you.
keep in touch with you to, give me, some info about how things are going with you and your podcast journey and your book journey as well. So keep me up to speed with what you got going on, brother.
Yes, sir. And one thing I'll tell the audience right now is I'm planning because the school wants me to come speak at their elementary school wants me to come speak to them, and it's for a children's book here, and so that will be around November, I believe. That's what they want, and so if that does happen, if you guys follow me on socials, just stay tuned for that. And I'm planning on probably potentially live streaming that whole event and recording it all on YouTube and everything so people can see. And get the live five local news where I'm at, try to get everybody there so they can see what this all is about and premiere
That's what's up, man.
this thing here, because we don't need this to be out in this out under a rock. It needs to be out in the public sky, because
Yes,
kids need to be inspired, especially in this
yeah.
day and age with so much things I don't want to reference on the entertainment space that's just kids shouldn't be even looking at, you know. So
Amen to that, brother. As always, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. As I often say, and I will continue to say, it's okay to not be okay. Just do something about it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a good rest of your evening. Thank you, Brother Brendan.
yes, sir.
You have a good rest of your evening as well. So,
You do the same.
like I said before, keep in touch with me.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
All right. You have a good evening, sir.
You do the same.
All right. Bye-bye.